Hello there, welcome to another episode of World of Warships with Gainy Titan. And I've decided to switch back to co-op mode in World of Warships. But I'm going to play out my low tier experiences and grind out the low tier ships in co-op battles mode, at least for the time being. The reasons are manifold. And goes back originally. I originally started playing World of Warships and playing it in co-op mode because I've been watching, had been watching the odd World of Warships videos on Mighty Jingles' YouTube channel for quite a while, and I remember him mentioning that Rita Gamer was starting to play World of Warships, and he advised her to play the low tiers in co-op mode. And I thought I'd do the same thing, but I didn't realise, of course, that there is a kind of a extra friendly, newbie-friendly mode when you're less than 50 battles, and the co-op mode, essentially, there's no random battles, is essentially co-op mode as well, because what it does is it fills out, in random battles, it fills out the roster to about 6 ships aside, with bots, anyway. So you get pretty rapid matchmaking, and you will always get 6 ships aside, or thereabouts, maybe 8 ships aside. I'm not too sure exactly whether there's a limit, or I haven't gone through to that level of detail. But then when you leave the kiddie pool, so to speak, you get into the real thing, and all of a sudden it ramps up and it's a lot tougher. But I hadn't tried, I had switched to random battles at that stage because I could see no discernible difference between random battles and co-op mode. They're the same battle types. Because I thought there was a co-op mode that was a bit like the war stories in World of Tanks, in World of Tanks Mercenaries, where you were playing missions and objectives rather than just standard battle, but with bots. And I had played, I was playing expecting that, and I didn't get that. They might be still there. There's a lot of stuff goes on that I haven't really explored, and those missions might still be available, but I think actually they're something you unlock later on, and they have to be played at slightly higher tiers, and you have specific ships and various other things like that. I haven't really explored that side of it. So I went back and I was playing random battles, and first of all I had a couple of problems with random battles. The biggest one, but aside from the fact that I'm no good at it, and my gunnery was sucked, and I'm trying to learn to improve my gunnery, which I think I have been making some progress in. And I also think this is far more relentlessly a skill-based game than World of Tanks. In World of Tanks, the environment plays a bigger role. Lines of sight are blocked much more frequently, and you can come across your enemies due to the random happenstance in a manner that will allow you, even as a totally newbie player, to come out top on your team, even on a winning team. On occasion, you could be the last surviving tank and you win, not because you're any good, but just because you're lucky. I don't think this happens as much, if at all, on World of Warships, because it's really all about delivering rate of fire accurately. There's nothing between you and the enemy ship. I mean, angling and stuff does count, but at the same time, you've got to get the shots out. The shots have to land. And when they land, they have to do damage, which is where the angling bit comes in. So the better player has, I think, very strong advantages over the less good player, particularly the player that isn't actually very accurate in their shooting in the first place. But the real frustration with random battles at low tiers is the low population. This game is surviving with nobody in low population. I mean, I've been playing random battles now for several weeks, and at different times of the day, morning, noon and night, and it seems to there's no peak time that I'm aware of, and a lot of the time I've been waiting in excess of 3 to 4 minutes, effectively 5 minutes before from joining the queue to start a battle, sometimes more, and finished up with 4 versus 4 or 2 versus 2. And 2 versus 2 is 4 versus 4 is bad, but 2 versus 2 is no fun at all, really, in my opinion. I'd rather wait another 2 minutes and get 6v6 if I could, or even 4 versus 4 rather than 2 versus 2. Because the thing is, if you looked at the setup at the start here, we're spread across the width of the map. Basically the width of the island. One side to the north, one side to the south. And facing each other. And you'd get a similar setup, 2 versus 2, except one ship would be one end of the extreme and the other ship would be the other end of the extreme. And so you spend half the battle steaming towards each other as quickly as you can so as to join up, and terrified that you're going to run into the other 2 enemy ships joined up already while you're still on your own. That's part of it. And the other part of it is that when you do meet up to the enemy ships, it's all over in seconds because it's 2 versus 2, and unless you're the better player, you're probably not going to come out on top. And it's a really short game. There's no tactics or not much to it really. Whereas if you have a lot of players on this game, it's a much more interesting game. This game is a much richer game with in excess of 8 players and upwards, because then the business of flipping caps and avoiding combat, there's benefits to it, and there's various other upsides and various other tactical ploys, shall we say, that matter. Whereas in the sort of very low numbers, it's a bit of a hobbit adventure, and who runs into whom first, and just obliteration. Because you can't really, well, I suppose destroyers might be able to cap stealthed, but cruisers and things like that are not, for instance. And if you cap, you're giving away your position, so the enemy knows where you are, and there's these kind of things. So, but the amount of 2 versus 2 and 4 versus 4 that I got really shocked me, and it suggests to me that there's very low numbers at low tiers in this game. And even with the St. Louis at tier 3, I've had a lot of very small number games, a lot of 4 versus 4, which again I think is marginally on the not fun end of the scale. So I think, but in co-op battles this isn't going to happen. In co-op battles it looks like it's a minimum of 8v8, and they'll pop up the numbers. They'll prop up the numbers with a bot. You're fighting against bots, so it's easy to get players on your side. They'll top up your numbers so that you have an interesting battle, and it's quick. You're less than a minute, you're into a battle. There's no waiting around. So I would say definitely there's no contest. You really might as well go for co-op battle, and build up your experience and build up your gunnery practice until you get into the higher tiers. Thank you for watching. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please give it a like, and if you have not already done so, please subscribe.